Hey folks, welcome back to the All-in-One Nerd channel. I'm your host, Lucas, and today we are going to be talking about the Batman. Directed by Matt Reeves and starring a whole slew of amazing actors and actresses. But before we dive in, if you could please take a moment to like, comment, and subscribe, that would be greatly appreciated. It helps out the channel a whole bunch. Now, before we dive into the review, let me quickly just say that, yes, I did do a video titled Batman 2 years later, a year ago now. And so some of you who have watched that video may be asking, why am I doing the same video just titled 3 years later? And there is a reason to that. I wanted to remake that video essentially because I feel like I've improved, I guess, as a content creator and YouTuber, whatever. And I feel like I have a bit more to say about this film. That video was shorter. This video, I think, will be longer at the end of the day. So yeah, I just wanted to remake it for you guys and for myself ultimately, because I think I just have more to say. And additionally, too, I think this film has kind of aged like fine wine. Like each time I watch it, I do kind of notice more flaws, I will say that. But part of me is just like, I just love this film a lot. And I think the Penguin show has a lot to do with it. I really do. I think I like that show a bit more than the movie, to be honest. I love the Penguin so much. I did a video about that, and maybe I'll do another remake video about it in a year or so. So this will be a very heavy spoiler review, I guess. I'm not going to like beat around the bush when it comes to certain spoilers and whatnot. So if you have not seen this movie, I would encourage you to go watch it first before watching this, I guess I don't want to call it a retrospective, but review on the Batman. Definitely go check it out. I recommend it. It's a great Batman film, and I think it's a good film overall, even if you're not huge into the character of Batman. I think you will still like it quite a bit. But I guess just to kind of give a quick synopsis, this follows Batman in year 2 of his crime-fighting career, and it's a very different Batman from what we've seen before. You know, it feels a little amateurish, like he's still trying to figure it out as he goes. It's very raw, like he has such rage behind his punches, it feels like. But things get a little more serious when politicians start to come up dead, right? Like, there's minor spoilers here. The mayor, the opening scene, which I really love that opening scene, I will say, starts out with the mayor being killed by the Riddler. And I'll talk a little bit more about that, some of the shots and whatnot. So yeah, all these politicians start to come up dead, and public figures, and the Riddler starts to leave clues directly for the Batman, right? So things it takes a different turn, right? It gets a little bit more serious for the Batman, and he has to try to figure out what's going on, why is it happening, who's this Riddler, and he has to try to stop it all. And he teams up with Jim Gordon, who's not the commissioner yet. I think he's just a lieutenant, and also get some help from Selena Kyle, aka the Catwoman. Now, let me just run down some of the characters here, because there is quite a bit of characters in it. So we have the Batman, right? And I kind of said earlier, he feels very raw and very intense, right? And I think that's perfectly displayed really with the first fight scene that we see him in, and like near the subway, beating up those guys with like the skulls painted on their face. Like, it is intense. So he's still trying to figure it out, and he's still trying to figure out what he wants his image to be. I think, like he says, like, I'm vengeance, right? And we'll kind of go into that later, but ultimately that seems to be a bit of a mistake. That he says, I'm vengeance, that can lead to things that he does not intend. Another character, and I think it's worth mentioning and kind of separating Bruce Wayne and Batman. Because especially I feel like in this film, there's such a big divide between those characters. And Bruce Wayne, he does not want to play this persona of Bruce Wayne, right? He doesn't care for it. He just wants to be Batman. And I think in future installments we'll get more of the playboy Bruce Wayne, so I'm looking forward to that. And Bruce Wayne Batman, played by Robert Pattinson, and I really do like him in this role. I will say, I think he nails it in a lot of ways. The only critique, I guess, he is a little too skinny. Like, I wish he definitely bulked up a little bit more. But when he's in the suit, I think it's fine. But out of the suit, it's like, oh God, he does not look that strong. He looks scrawny. Another main character that we have is Lieutenant Jim Gordon. Like I said, he's not commissioner yet. He's still kind of making his way up the ranks and whatnot. And but he seems to be powerful within the police force, at least, right? So he takes a liking to Batman, and it seems like he's the one that created the signal for Batman, and he's the only one sticking his neck out too for Batman. Like all the other cops are still like, no, we don't like him. He's not our thing. He's a vigilante. But Jim Gordon kind of sees through that and realizes that, no, this is a hero of sorts, right? I do wish we got more of like Jim Gordon and his family, maybe Barbara. Like, I don't think there's a mention of his kids or anything like that. Like, we don't know his family or his personal life, really. So I hope and I wish in future installments we get more of that. Next character we have is Selina Kyle, aka Catwoman. She is, I think Zoe Kravitz does a great job playing Selina Kyle. She's very much still trying to find her own footing as well. It seems like she's kind of in year 2 of being a cat burglar, if you will. And she's very good at it. We see her be very good at it, breaking into the mayor's house and stealing what's in his safe, which is Annika's passport. Another character that I think is worth mentioning is the Penguin. My favorite character by far, I will say. Colin Farrell does an amazing job playing this character of Oz Cobb. Now that he's not called Oswald Cobblepot. I don't really care about the name change, to be honest. I think here it is he does such a good job. He's unrecognizable in that character thanks to the makeup and costume designs and whatnot. And I will say too, there is definitely like a Tony Soprano-esque influence, I feel like there. Like, don't get me wrong, Tony Soprano is very much more charming and charismatic, and Oz is not charismatic or charming. Well, I guess he's charismatic, but he's more rough around the edges, you could say. Even just like his face, right? He's got scars and like he looks a little beat up and scary, to be honest. But there is definitely that influence of Tony Soprano, at least I feel like. So a couple more characters here that I want to mention. Obviously, we have the Riddler, right? He's the main antagonist of this film. He's played by Paul Dano. And man, he really, he feels like a horror villain, like super scary at times. And Paul Dano plays him beautifully. I think Paul Dano, peace and love, but he does kind of have, I don't want to say a punchable face. I feel like that's too mean. And I like Paul Dano and other things he's done as well. But you kind of get the idea, I hope. Like, I think he really does play the Riddler quite well here. And we don't even see him outside of his mask too much either, which is interesting, I will say. Next character we have is Carmine Falcone, played by John Turturro. I would argue that he is way more sinister than the Riddler. Like, and we learn a little bit more about his like sinister past, I guess you could say, in the Penguin and whatnot, and especially his like crimes against women and how he's really the hangman. Yeah, he's intense. He's super dark, very disturbing too. Very disturbing. I think John Turturro does a great job playing the character of Carmine Falcone. I will say I like that casting personally. I think that's one of the casting that's maybe a little bit more divisive. Now, the last character I want to quickly mention here is Alfred Pennyworth, played by Andy Serkis. I think he does a great job in the role too. I think they're going for a different type of Alfred. You know, obviously he's younger. I think he's the youngest Alfred we've seen so far, but I think it works for this universe and this Batman and this mythos that's created by Matt Reeves. I think it really works here. So I do like Andy Serkis in that role ultimately. Now, there's a couple small things that I quickly want to mention that I really like about this film. Just like small, I don't want to call them Easter eggs, but details, I guess. First one being the comic influences here. You know, we have the Long Halloween. There's a big influence with Batman Year One, I feel like, too. So as a comic book fan, obviously I'm a comic book fan. I really appreciate that, and I really love to see that. Another thing I think it works and is good, but like I said, kind of just a smaller detail, is the cape. We see Batman use the cape to like stun his enemies like he does in the Arkham video games. So I thought that was pretty cool. Other thing is the editing in this scene with Alfred and the bomb. I think that's really well put together, and I really enjoy that. I that's just something I noticed when watching it, and I'm like, I really like how this is chopped together. And additionally, too, there's quite a few good one-liners, I will say, in this movie. I noticed a lot of them are done by Catwoman, but there are a few done by Batman, and they're just good one-liners. The Riddler has some, like, across the board. I think there's just good one-liners for this film. Now, let's dive more into the kind of the nitty-gritty, what I really enjoyed about this film. First and foremost, let me just say the cinematography here, just beautiful. I am of the opinion this is the best well-shot Batman movie. I really think that. I like it a lot more than the Dark Knight trilogy. Tim Burton, his first one and second one, I think are beautifully shot, but here it just looks beautiful. It's very stylized too. And yeah, so I had to put that one first and foremost because I really do think the cinematography and some of the shots is what makes this film so great. So the character of Batman, I really like how Batman's portrayed in this film. I like that he's a symbol of fear in the city, and how his presence is felt with the criminals, even when he's not present, right? And that's beautifully well shown within the first like 10 minutes of all those criminals, like, stealing and robbing the store and then doing the graffiti, and they just pan over to like a dark alleyway or whatever, and they're like, oh shit, is Batman there? It's just so well done. I really like how his presence is felt even when he's not physically there. I also too like Batman's arc throughout this film, and I kind of touched on this, how he starts out very almost like unhinged, and how all he cares about is being a symbol of vengeance, right? And he learns throughout the film from the Riddler, but also some, Catwoman, I would say too, where he's kind of giving mixed signals and mixed messaging, right? Like, people are unsure whether he's a good guy or bad guy. And I think that's beautifully shown too with the beginning fight scene after he saves that gentleman from the crew or whatever, the gang, and that guy looks at him and says, "Please don't hurt me," right? So I think that's beautifully shown there and throughout, and slowly Batman begins to realize, like, okay, no, I can't just be a symbol of vengeance, right? He needs to be a symbol of hope. And I think he realizes too that he kind of created the Riddler in some sense too, right? Or inspired the Riddler, I should say. Because I mean, the Riddler literally says he thinks they're partners in some ways, and like they're taking down the corruption in Gotham, and Batman's like, whoa, 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 no, I'm not about that. What you're doing, you're killing people. That's not my thing. But like I said, he's kind of giving mixed signals out to the public of who and what he is and what he stands for. So I like his overarching arc throughout this movie and how he realizes he does need to be the symbol of hope for Gotham City and not just a symbol of vengeance. Now, quickly touching on Bruce Wayne here too, I think Bruce Wayne also realizes, or Batman, whatever, I think he also realizes that Bruce Wayne, that persona and that character, can do some good as well. And I think he realizes, and I hope we see this in the sequel and then also the third film as well. I think it's a trilogy. I think that's confirmed. I hope we see that Bruce Wayne as more of a playboy, because here we don't get that at all. I think he makes only like one public appearance, right, with the mayor's funeral. And he kind of comes out as Bruce Wayne here and there, visiting Carmine and whatnot. But we don't see him as Bruce Wayne, as the playboy, as the slick, whatever. So I really want to see that in future installments. Now, Gotham City, I think you could make the argument that Gotham City in this film feels like a character within its own. There's a very clear class divide throughout this film, and I think it's very well done how it's shown, and it makes it feel so realistic at times too. Like Gotham City in this film really could be a real place in the United States or anywhere in the world for that matter. I guess more specifically the U.S. though, and it kind of goes back to also the cinematography, how well it's shot, how that I think really helps amplify the Gotham City in a lot of ways. But yeah, I think that's so well done, the class divide. And it also kind of goes into the Riddler. I think the Riddler is really well done here, and it makes perfect sense in the context of this film. I don't want to say it makes perfect sense for what he does or why he does what he does, right? Because obviously killing is not great. Obviously, I don't, you guys should know that, hopefully. But it does kind of make sense in the context of the film, like where his head was at. And also, I will say, it also makes sense the idolization of the Riddler too. We see that, and I think that's very interesting, and that is super scary. But it feels real, like that could be something that happens in today's world because of the class divide that is so prevalent in today's society. So wrapping up the good, what I really enjoyed about this film, a couple other things. The car chase is just, seriously, I think it's one of my favorite car chases, if not my favorite car chase in a film ever. I love it so much. I remember seeing it in the theaters and like my seat was like vibrating. I was like, oh, incredible, just incredible. It's beautifully shot. I love the Penguin throughout it too. He's funny. And I do see the argument. It's like, would Batman do that in real life? Is that in character for Batman to do this and, being essentially the cause of so much destruction and probably a lot of deaths, and obviously the Penguin's to blame too there, but, Batman does, tease him on a little bit, I guess, by chasing him. So I get that argument, but at the end of the day, I think it's so beautifully well shot and just so well done. It's such a adrenaline rush watching it. The other thing I've come to really enjoy is the third act fight scene in the arena. I think it's really well done. I think, yeah, I love the way it's shot. And just Batman's entrance at the beginning of the fight scene with him like exploding the ceiling. I just think it's so badass. So I really like how that's done. And that's kind of the major points, I guess, for why I think this film succeeds. So there are some things that I don't love. I guess let's quickly get out of the way. A small nitpick of mine. I don't love the wingsuits that Batman has. I just don't think, I don't know. It doesn't feel cinematic to me like I think it should. And they do it well in the Dark Knight trilogy, which is very much grounded in reality, like this film. So they definitely could have made it work. I feel like having a more of a the bat wings, right? I think it definitely could have worked. So that's just a small nitpick, but I hope in the sequel we get to see it more gliding around in more of a traditional looking bat suit, if you will. So my biggest issue with this film, I think, is it doesn't feel like a great detective story at the end of the day. I don't know why that is. I think there's a couple reasons, and I'll talk about it here. Some of the character choices, I think, just are kind of stupid, to be honest. And so I think at the end of the day, that's my biggest gripe with this film. It's not a good detective story, in my opinion, right? Like, I don't like the whole rat-a-tat-a thing, like, a rat with wings. Like, in my mind, how do you get to a penguin first? How is that your first conclusion that a rat with wings is the penguin? What? It just seems so dumb. It's like, obviously it would be a bat or a falcon, right? I think Batman and Jim Gordon should have came to the conclusion that it was a falcon before they did in this film. Like, to me, the penguin or a penguin would be like the last resort. Like, it just doesn't make sense to me, I guess. So I don't know. That's a big gripe I have with the film. I just don't like that. Also, too, I guess smaller things. Why would Alfred open up that package? It just seems so stupid. Like, he's seen the way the Riddler writes. Like, it's clearly from the Riddler. Why would he open it up? Like, I don't know. That just seems so dumb to me. It really does. Also, too, we have Batman standing in the face of the guy with the bomb, Gale, I think his name was, or Gil, till the very last second, till he gets blown back. What are you doing, Batman? Hello, the thing's about to explode. I thought that was really dumb, to be honest. And also, too, he has no marks on his face or whatever, which, I don't know. I thought that was really stupid. And then also, too, Thomas Wayne. Why on God's earth would you go to Falcone to rant and complain about this reporter? Like, what else did you expect Falcone to do other than kill him? Like, come on. Like, that just seems so stupid to me. I don't know. Maybe he shouldn't have been mayor. If he went to a known mobster, like, to be like, hey, man, I'm having this issue with a reporter. Can you do something about it? I just thought that was so silly. I really did. So those are kind of my biggest issues with the film, more from like a story perspective. I think other than that, it's really well shot. And there's really not anything to critique from that standpoint, I will say, from more of like a technical standpoint. Just have some issues with this story overall. So wrapping up here, I guess I quickly want to kind of talk a little bit about what I hope to see in the future of the epic crime saga. I believe that's what they're calling it now, which is just Matt Reeves's trilogy, and then also maybe some other spin-offs that aren't confirmed. But I am looking forward to the Batman sequel, part 2. I think that's the next thing we're going to get in this universe, Matt Reeves' universe. But that's been delayed, like, I think twice now. And now it's coming out in October 2027. So, it is still, like, over 2 years away, which is just crazy to me. It's just too far. Yeah, too far. It will be, like, 6 years almost since the first one. So I don't know, but I am still very much looking forward to that. It does suck that they delayed it, but if they think they need a little bit more time for it to bake in the oven, I'm okay with that. I'd rather have a amazing Batman sequel than a rushed one at the end of the day. I do hope we get more of the Rogues Gallery from this Batman universe. I want to see what those iterations of these characters look like. Obviously, we kind of know what the Joker looks like with the deleted scene that got released. So I'm excited to see him, but I also want to see like Scarecrow and Two-Face. It does... It's kind of a double-edged sword, in my opinion, that they're not going to go more of a majestical, magical route or supernatural route, whatever you want to call it, with some of the characters. Like, I would love to see a Clayface. The movie, the standalone that they're doing, that I believe is confirmed to be in like James Gunn's DCU, which honestly I think makes a little bit more sense for that character. But I am excited to see future installments, whether it be the third film, obviously the second film, and then the third, but also like other shows like The Penguin and a potential second season of The Penguin show. I kind of hold the opinion that if they did one, amazing. I would be very excited for it if they did it right. But as it stands right now, I think the first season of The Penguin is some of the best television today. Like, it, in my opinion, stands shoulder to shoulder with something like The Sopranos, Breaking Bad, Better Call Saul, Barry. Like, it is that good. So that is going to do it for today's episode. If you could please like, comment, subscribe, that would be greatly appreciated. Let me know too what you thought of this video. Kind of a different thing, not talking so much about a comic, but a comic adaptation and film. So I really would like to get your opinions down in the comment section below. Feedback is always very much appreciated. And also too, I always fail to mention, we do have a Discord, link to that in the description below. Feel free to join that and join the conversation, and we will catch you in the next video. Take care, folks.